It's a scrawn dog. What up? Have you ever almost killed somebody in Mexico? Have you? Have you? Be honest. You ever look a man in the eyes and know that his life was almost there for the taking? That if you pushed him, his soul could have snapped and been sucked back up into the heavens from which we all came? Just like that, Darth Mike could have been dead. Darth Mike could have been a goner. But Maui Snake and I, we let him off the hook. What you talking about, Scrawndawg? Well, we decided to take a hike into a national park in Monterey, Mexico. And if you don't know much about Monterey, Mexico, let me tell you this. That bad boy's surrounded by mountains. And I'm talking big ones. We took Darth Mike on a little hike. It was supposed to be easy, they said. Well, we may have taken the wrong route. We may have gotten off into the back trails. We may have almost killed Darth Mike, but he's alive and fine. Well, he's at least alive. I haven't checked in on him, so hopefully Darth isn't too mentally scarred from our expedition, our journey into the wilderness of Monterey. Monterey, Mexico. Never thought I would have been there or have gone there. Honestly, I had never even heard of Monterey until Blast announced the location of their America's RMR, of which I just came back from a few days ago. We're settled in, folks. Scrawndawg coming at you guys here on the 18th of April. Goddamn, the whole year's flying. The 18th of April. It's a nice little chill Tuesday in Montreal, Canada. It was raining yesterday, but now it's partially cloudy, and I can see the sun peeking through. It's kind of setting the whole mood for this episode. Last Scrawndawg and I was coming in hot. CS2 had just got announced. There was crazy, bewildering news to be shouted about. But today we're gonna take a step back. We're gonna sit down. Gonna talk to you guys about what's been happening in the last month or so. Yeah, last episode released March 22nd, so nearly a month with no update on the Scrawndawg. But here we are now. I'll return to the stories of Monterey, of course. There's a lot to be said. It was a lot of fun. A lot of fun indeed. From a broadcast perspective, from a social perspective, all these things will be unpacked alongside a recounting of the Blast Showdown. Because we were in Copenhagen prior to going to Monterey. Coming off of a back-to-back event type beat. Couple weeks with Launders and Maui Snake. And 1 week in Mexico with Moses, Darth Mike, and Bach. Yeah. That sets the tone, don't it? Copenhagen's a place that I know incredibly well at this point. It is kind of my second home, barring Montreal. It's just where the Blast studios are situated. Obviously, we work Blast more than any other TO, and so we've become very accustomed to the Blast studios. And Blast Showdown is one of those events. It's not the most exhilarating event of my calendar year. It happens twice a year, though, that we head out to the Blast Studios. It's always better in the spring than it is in the fall, this event. Because right now, March, April, it's kind of like the Copenhagen summer is starting to set in. I sympathize with Danes living in Copenhagen. I think it's comparable to living in Montreal in the sense that your winters kind of suck. Seasonal depression is very real. It's a very real thing. Here in Montreal, we have to deal with the snow, so we just all go underground. And then come springtime, right about now, when the sun first peeks its sexy little legs out from behind those clouds, when there's no longer snow, but instead frozen yellow grass. Well, those are good enough signs for us, Montrealers and Copenhageners, to start taking our clothes off and start spending time outdoors. Yeah, I understand you guys. I get it. I get it, okay? People who live, if you're listening to this and you live somewhere like, I don't know, Arizona, Portugal, hell, Australia. I know there are a couple listeners from Australia. I know that for a fact. I see my demographic. 98% male. Ho-ho! What up, boys? If you guys live in the sun all the time, you don't understand what it's like to go through the seasons. And Copenhagen's beautiful, or it's about to be, and that was kind of the vibe going down at this Blast Showdown. You know, there's an area in Copenhagen called the Meatpacking District. It is a location that keeps us sane. It's basically a bunch of trendy restaurants and bars. They got a mini putt place up in there. It's just a good place to grab a bite to eat. You know, it's a little bit overpriced. On the weekends, it's too busy for my liking. But with our hotel very nearby, for these kinds of showdowns where the schedule is honestly very grueling for the analysts, the desk host, and all of production. You know, us casters, man, we get off easy. We do 1 or 2 best of 3s a day. Everybody else involved with production is doing 3 best of 3s a day, which is too many. I'm going to just be blunt. I don't know how Blast keeps getting away with it. The Showdown is an event that is very long and very grueling. It is a test for the mental health of the people stuck there for the entire day. I will never complain. I'm a caster. We get off easy. But I completely understand why more and more people at Showdowns are feeling burnt out. First game starts at like 4 p.m., last game regularly ends around 2 in the morning, so we're talking like 10 to 12-hour broadcast days. This Showdown specifically was very, very rough in the sense that it was constant overtimes, constantly 3-map series. You know, those are the events that you run a gamble. If everything goes 2-0 and there are no tech delays, hey, it ain't half bad. The moment there are, and there were, 3-map series, overtime maps, and tech delays. Fuck. Yeah, man, it's rough. It's rough. But luckily, as I was saying, with the vibes in the city, Launders and I kind of got off easy. You know, we hit up the Meatpacking District. We were catching our afternoon meals, big, hearty, hefty meals in the afternoon to kind of get you through into the late hours of the night, running on studio snacks. And yeah, the vibes in Copenhagen are starting to become excellent. I am very, very excited for the Blast fall groups. That'll be happening in August, right? The start of the second season, presumably on CS2 in Copenhagen. That's when, like, you know, goddamn, dude, once the sun is out, Copenhagen is one of the best places to be in the summer. I mean, I haven't been everywhere in the world during the summer, but of all the places I have been, trust me, Copenhagen is up there. It feels like people stop working and they just start enjoying life, which culturally is a really cool thing. It's something that, again, I sympathize here in Montreal. We do the same thing. The moment the sun comes around the corner, we kind of put down the pencils, pick up the beers, sit outside. Here we call them terrasse. You know, I only learned less than a year ago that in English it's not a terrasse, it's a terrace. But in French Canada we call them terrasse. So my 28-year-old ass has been saying terrasse in English forever. Launders thought I was trolling when he corrected me. Language barriers, man, they're a real thing. Sometimes I forget how French Canadian I am. Or just kind of dumb. And I blame it on being French Canadian. You see, there's always an angle. But yeah, man, Blast Showdown was you know, I think both of these events back to back, the Showdown and the RMR, it just reminds you that, I mean, I'm not going to start a pity party for myself. I'm very happy with these events. It's just they're not the glorious events, you know? That to me feels like that's where I'm putting in work. That's when this job is work. I'm still getting to travel the world. Still getting to be with my friends who are my colleagues, people I only get to see when I am actively traveling the world. It's a fucking great problem to have, isn't it? But these are the events where there's no crowd. There's no atmosphere of epicness. There's no massive dopamine hit when you come off of your casting because, there's a chanting crowd in the background, or, storylines are coming together and you're, what? There's none of that, man. It's 2 a.m. You're in the suburbs of Copenhagen, and Imperial have just clinched a spot at the Blast Spring Finals. Now, that's actually exciting, okay? That to me is what makes these events, that's where I find my enjoyment from the Showdowns. Is it always seems to be like there's this little one-off narrative, Imperial ultimately failed to qualify for Paris, but we do get to see them at the spring finals. We get to see them at a LAN in the United States of America at the very, very end of this season of Counter-Strike. Presumably what is the last season of CSGO. So that's pretty cool. Pretty cool indeed. They made a name for themselves, Fallen & Co., by moving to America back in the Luminosity days. Kaboom. If you know. And they get to kind of finish there. So that's kind of neat, right? But Showdown's always upset city. Online Counter-Strike, it's a wild time. It's a wild time indeed. But yeah, intense schedule, man. I wish more people would kind of talk about that. Kind of put Blast on blast. I think that from an inside perspective, the Showdowns are starting to become a bit too much. At least move back the start time. Starting at 4 p.m. means you end at 2 a.m. And this has always been my opinion when it comes to long days of broadcast. Long days are not as bad as late days. Okay, chew on that. Long days aren't as bad as late days. If the broadcast is going to be 10 hours, but we start at 11 a.m., well, suddenly you're still done by midnight because everybody deserves to be back at their hotel and in bed by midnight. That's my opinion. I hate this idea of remote broadcasts and overnight broadcasts. I hate this idea of normalizing working beyond midnight. It's my job to bring excitement and entertainment to a broadcast. And I like to think I do the best I can every time I step up to a microphone and have the cameras rolling. I truly do give it my all. But there's nobody out there who's going to try to convince you that anybody does their best work beyond midnight. I'm sorry, that's just not true. If you want the best of me, well then set me up to succeed. If I had to start at 6 p.m., 8 p.m., whatever, I can make sure I've got enough energy for 8 p.m. But when I get to the studio at 8 p.m. and then I sit around and wait until 10:30, 11 p.m. and then I start a best of 3, do you really think that's the best I have to offer? Fuck, I hope not. I still give it my all, baby. I'm a team player. I'm going to be gung-ho. I appreciate the opportunities I get, so I'm going to give it my best. But I just know there's so much more I have to offer earlier in the day. And that goes, again, for everybody involved. Not just my ass that gets to show up later than everybody else, 8 hours into the broadcast already. You're working people into the ground. And I think that there's a lot of good people at Blast who deserve better work environments. That's kind of what the Showdown ends up being, because there's no players on site. There's no crowd on site. That's the back room esports environment. That's we're all doing this because we love it, and we know around the corner we've got those stadium moments, right? Those always make it worth it. If I can have 3 stadium casts in my entire year, I'll put my nose to the grindstone as often as I have to in order to make that happen. So I don't want to sound ungrateful, but I do wish TOs would act in better faith and not kind of capitalize on everybody's passion, because I'm compensated very fairly, and my days are shorter than the majority of the people involved with producing those events. You know, so next time you're at home or some shit and you're watching a Blast Showdown and it's, you know, crazy hours or whatever, you get a little upset because a replay gets missed, or the observer finds himself on the other side of the map, just take a step back and realize that those events are grinds for a lot of people involved. And that without all of the unsung heroes in the production tent, this free product you're watching doesn't exist. And the person who's producing it is trying their best and loves this game as much as you do, if not more, because they've dedicated themselves to working on it. Not to devalue your appreciation or anything, excuse me, but, you know, just unsung heroes, man. Production makes the world go round. Yachty, 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 in the words of Jacob Pimp Finicky. Jacob Pimp Finicky. That's one of the reasons I love going to Showdown. I'll tell you that much. Pimp's a great guy to hang out with at Showdown, because Pimp's the kind of guy when you walk in the room, and I know when I walk in the room, everybody's been working for long hours. Me, I show up. I go, "What's up, everybody?" You know, I try to bring the hype. I try to be like, my whole mantra generally is obnoxious optimism. You know, you read the room, of course, but if you have extra energy to offer to people who are on the come down, well, then all of a sudden you can be the uptick in their moods, in their work environments, etc. That is the mentality that I apply to these spaces. And every time I do that with Pimp in the room, I say, "What's up, Pimp?" He says, "Fuck you, kinda." Every single time. But I know he appreciates it. I know he respects me. You know, Pimp's that guy where if he likes you, he's talking shit to you. If he's neutral about you, that's when you just get the formalities, the hellos, good days, the goodbyes, you know? But I get the "fuck you, kinda." That's how I know Pimp loves me. Some guys were never shown how to show friendship and affection, or they learned in a weird environment, you know, machoism and whatnot, dude. But I'll hold my friend's hands. I'll kiss him on the cheek. Not Pimp, though. Nuh-uh. He ain't about that. And that's fine, too. But he deserved a special little shout-out, because I think he is one of those people who it really embodies putting your nose to the grindstone, right? We want to talk about people grinding away Showdown. This guy, once he finishes the Showdown at 3 a.m. after doing the full entire broadcast every single day, motherfucker packs up his PC, climbs into his car, and drives like 6 hours back to his house. Does it every time, man, because he wants to wake up with 4 hours sleep and stream. Holy hell, what a grinder in all of the best ways. Find inspiration from people that work hard. Pimp, you inspire me. But that's about it for the Showdown. Nothing too interesting really happened. Again, it's a grinding event. That's the whole gist of this. So it means there's not a lot of free time. It means there's not a lot of glorious moments for me to come back to my computer and tell y'all about. You know, I can't sugarcoat a Showdown. Although one nice thing was that I did get to go back to the rock climbing gym with Launders. Yeah, Beta Boulders. Shout out Beta Boulders in Copenhagen. This is where at the start of 2023, I got back into bouldering. And you guys know that when I came home back to Montreal, found a gym nearby, went with my buddy Dan. We've talked about it. Well, this was my chance to go back to Copenhagen and climb with Mohan and kind of show him how I'd improved. You know, that was my goal. I wanted to impress my dude. Well, we get to Beta Boulders on the one day that we're able to climb, the one day that we have like a later start in the evening. So we spent the late morning into afternoon going to the rock climbing gym. We show up to Beta Boulders, and the lady at the entry says, "Just to let you boys know, reduced entry fee today." Woo! Saving money. But there was a reason. There's always a but. there was a competition, a climbing competition taking place like 3 days later. And she said, yeah, so for that reason, we're redoing some of the walls, which means you can't climb on them. And I could see guys in the distance, with their shirts off. Because I tell you, man, climbers, they take their shirts off the first chance they get. I'm okay with that. A bunch of fit people walking around the gym showing what they've got. It's kind of cool, actually, watching the process of people setting the routes. These are obviously like the best climbers in the area that show up to the gym and set routes for the rest of us to climb. So it's actually a really interesting practice that I've come to appreciate watching. It's like, you're watching how the sausage gets made, but there's no animals in a grinder. It's just shirtless dudes. Right? You feel me? So we walk in and we're like, it's all right. It's okay. It's fine. We don't need to climb every wall. Little did we realize once we walked around the corner that like 80% of the walls had been cleared. Like the vast majority of the gym was just blank walls. A little unlucky. I'd hyped up going back with Mo, and at least, what was kind of fun was the trade-off was while the problems that were still up on the walls were not in abundance, it did allow for us to kind of focus in on one or two climbs that were at the, top of our capabilities, like where we maxed out. We had to really fixate in and kind of improve one piece at a time. And Mohan is a good climber, so it's always nice climbing with somebody who's better than you, because they're there to teach you, and they also hype you up. Mohan really knows how to hype me up. So we locked in on a couple problems, and there's one I didn't get. I wasn't able to finish it, man. It was one of those like mystery climbs. Sometimes in a bouldering gym, everything is labeled based on its level of difficulty, but gyms like to just put a mystery sticker on a climb every once in a while, and then you have to try it to figure out what it is. And so we were climbing this one that was marked as like a V3, but I was like, damn, bro, like I can usually climb V3s, and this thing is hard. Like, what the? But I just chiseled away at it. We're working on it, and then eventually a local climber came over, and I was like, yo, buddy, could you climb this real quick just so I can watch your hand and feet placement, etc. And then he told us that, oh, this is actually a V5, but they mislabeled it. Like, what? Isn't it your job, sir, to label things correctly? And at first I was like, damn, dude, I'm out here trying to climb a V5. Like, no wonder I keep failing. And then it gave me perspective because I almost did complete it, even though I would never, ever enter a gym and even attempt a V5, because in my brain, I can't climb V5 yet. Well, guess what? I almost did. So that was kind of a nice little learning moment, a little life lesson that I walked away with. Sometimes try shit that you don't think you can do, because even if you don't complete it, you can still find a sense of pride in having attempted it. And I bet you'll even surprise yourself with how close you may get. Or just enjoy the process, whatever. Don't be afraid. Don't be afraid of things. Most things in life cannot hurt you. Except for hikes in Monterey. Yeah, Darf almost died. So how'd we get to Monterey, Mexico, you ask? Because that's the glory of this job, isn't it? Flying around the world for Counter-Strike. And so Showdown gets wrapped up. We're 1 week into our trip. Been chilling with the Blast gang. And we decide to fly to Monterey, Mexico. Because when Blast approached us for the RMRs, they approached Launders and I, and they said, hey, here's what we're kind of thinking. They were doing trios. It was basically a shift of 3 people working in a duo, and the third person, the trio of the that was meant to relieve the other 2, so that the schedule of who would work which games, etc., was completely up to the 3 people working together. And in Americas, when we were presented this choice of, do you guys want to work Europe? Do you guys want to work Americas? who do you want as your third? The name on the tip of our tongue, you know him, was the Maui snake. Me and Launders were both like, yeah, we don't get to work in trios often, Mohan and I. You know, you see trios at ESL Pro League a couple times a year. You know, there are some legendary trio casts, tricasts. But Launders and I, if I remember correctly, the last time we ever tricast would have been with Hugo Byron at an event in Hong Kong, maybe 2018, 2017. It was a long time ago. That's my point. So obviously we're good friends with Maui Snake. I respect Maui as an analyst and a caster, especially as a guy who I think, you know, much like he's kind of on a Mohan trajectory where he's taking over an analyst space, but he understands broadcast in many different roles, and he's not afraid to you know, try to take a chunk out of something that maybe isn't his best role, but he's still going to give it a shot. And he's been casting with Anders lately. He's been doing, you know, well as a color commentator, but he also does a little play-by-play here and there. He's got the excitement in his voice because he's the kind of guy that loves Counter-Strike. So it was an easy choice for Mohan and I to just say, yo, we want Maui. And then we decided to do the Americas RMR because honestly, we spend a lot of time in the Copenhagen studio already. We just did the Blast Showdown there. And it's not every day, especially nowadays in the CSGO ecosystem, where you get these random pop-up events in interesting locations. I don't know anybody else who's ever been to Mexico for a CSGO event. So we told them that's the one we wanted. And ultimately, that's the one we got. So, Blast Spring Showdown wraps up in Copenhagen. And we're going to Mexico with Maui Snake. That's the plan. Now, Maui's the kind of guy that if you have the same travel day to the same destination, he's going to organize. He's going to orchestrate. He's going to prepare the destinations so that we maximize our time in these interesting locations. God bless Maui Snake. You know, he's the kind of guy you want to travel to in a foreign place with, because even if you put in any time to prepare what you want to see, what you want to eat, what you want to do, Maui will have you outclassed. You know, Maui is a food blogging, architecture appreciating, Counter-Strike loving kind of guy. I hype him up and rate him highly in terms of people to travel with. And we got that in Monterey. That was the plan. But on the way to Monterey, Maui Snake and I had the exact same flight itinerary. Copenhagen, Frankfurt, Houston, Monterey. 3 flights. Now, some people fucking hate travel days, right, in esports. And I understand why. Airports can be a bitch. Missing flights is incredibly stressful, especially if you're not experienced with that, you know, hiccup in your plans. If you're the kind of person where sudden change stresses you out and gives you anxiety, well, yeah, travel kind of sucks. Crying babies, stinky feet. There's a lot of reasons to hate travel, but I think I'm in the minority where I kind of appreciate my travel days. You know, just sitting in an airplane for 8 hours isn't the most fun thing in the world. But how often do you just kind of get 8 hours to yourself like that? You know, there's nothing else that you can be doing. You can't just decide halfway, like, I'm a get up and do, you know, when I'm at home, I get distracted by the thousands of little tasks or distractions or directions that my day can go. When you're locked into a flying tube, you're locked into a flying tube. So I always have a few podcasts ready, a book, a couple movies, and sometimes a video game. But I like my travel days because they're usually a great time to just be alone with myself. However, when you have a long travel day with a friend, that is a very rare occurrence in esports because we usually all come from different directions to the location, spend time together on site during events, and then fly back home to our place. You know, that's why I've got friends in fucking London, in America, in India, all these different locations that I would otherwise never have met these people. Well, because of esports, I can call them friends. And when I say India, I really just mean Bleh. Shout out Bleh one time. So, traveling on a long haul all the way to Mexico with Maui was a real treat. You know, sometimes you might fly like a quick little hour-and-a-half flight in between two European cities. You know, those big, exhausting travel days that all the Europeans always talk about. Y'all don't know shit. I fly back across the Atlantic every time. Then we're on the same level. Excuse me. I didn't mean to get so aggressive. Just grinds my gears. But so hear me out, man. One of the best travel days ever. Me and Maui fly to Frankfurt in the morning. We get out of Copenhagen. Our flight's at like 6:30 a.m. Nice and early, you know. And remember, we don't travel like most people. We got that gold status Star Alliance. We got that lounge access. You know, we got the whole kit and caboodle. So we get to Frankfurt. We immediately hit up that Senator Lounge. You know, Maui's a real lounger. He understands the strengths of Frankfurt. Okay, most people hate the Frankfurt airport, but not me and Maui. So we show up, we get our breakfast plates, you know, some scrambled eggs with a little garnish, some hash browns, some baked beans, orange juice, croissant, banana, yogurt parfait, and Negroni. Yeah, that's right, man. When you're traveling at 10 in the morning, you got to hit the Negroni bar. You got to hit the liquor. Just one, you know, keep it classy, folks. Because when you're in the Senator Lounge and you've got all these tied up businessmen looking at two young gamers flying on their way to Monterey, yeah, we're going to sip a little Negroni. You know, Maui whipped us up something special. We walked over to our lounge. Or not our lounge, excuse me, but our gate. And then our flight was delayed, but we're chilling. You know, whatever. Flight delays are not the end of the world. We had like a 3.5-hour layover in Houston, so it's not like we're missing our next flight anyways. No stress. We're sitting at the gate. We're talking shit. You know, it's going on. It's almost like an hour delay, so it started to get a bit boring. But for the first time in my esports career, something happened at that gate. I was in a city that I wasn't visiting for esports, right? We were in Frankfurt, Germany. We're going to Houston, Texas. No esports in either city. Why are we on this flight? It is simply a transitory experience. And as Maui Snake and I have had a little break in our conversation, a guy walks over, takes his earbuds out and goes, "Do you guys cast CSGO?" Boom! We got one. We got recognized in the airport at the gate in a city that we weren't visiting for esports. It's never happened before. Felt real famous for a second, not going to lie. It was a nice feeling. So we talked to Buddy for a good 30 minutes about Counter-Strike. And I appreciated this guy. He walked up to us, introduced himself. We talked just, you know, general stuff. He wanted to know about the job. He's like, all right, is it crazy? Are you guys partying all the time? You know, he had good questions. This guy kind of felt like TMZ. You know, and we would like shut it down because some big events do feel like festivals. You know, I wouldn't describe esports as a party. And especially like I have just explained to you the way the Showdown vibes are. You know, nobody's getting fucked up at Showdown. Nobody's celebrating Showdown the same way you have an after party at the big ones. So we kind of explained that to him. You know, sometimes it's glorious. Sometimes it's still Counter-Strike. Any day with Counter-Strike in it is a good day. But then this guy started asking like, all right, yo. So, what's the big drama right now? You know? Ooh, tell me about this player. Ooh, tell me what's behind the scenes. Ooh, this guy was digging, man. I felt like I was being interrogated by the FBI. In reality, he just wanted to know the ins and outs, and I respected that. We didn't tell him too much. No, sir, we did not. Because we're not like that, you know? esports closed doors to a degree, but I respected his hustle. You know, he had a chance. Never did he expect to have a chance to talk to us like that. He came across us at random, and he was shocked that we were going to Houston. He's like, "What? Why? Like, what?" He was just as surprised as we were that our paths crossed on a flight like that. You know, if we're flying into the city of Paris a week before the major, well, then it makes sense for you to find us, right? But nah, this was a real random occurrence. And then it got better. It got better, folks. Because we were in conversation, I wasn't really listening to the lady who was calling announcements over the intercom, but the boarding paths were now opened and people were heading in, and Maui and I, we had bags, so we wanted to make sure we got in. So we said farewell to our friend, peace. And we walked up to the gate because I swear I heard my name. I was like, "Yo, Maui, did she just say my name?" He's like, "No, you're crazy. She's speaking German." So we got in the back of the line, we're waiting, and then I did hear, "You speaking to Scrawndawgin?" And then we heard "Yo, let's go. She wants something." And then I heard Alexander Allenberg. I said, "Maui, come on. You're with me." And we realized, shit, man, we didn't check our documents. Sometimes you got to check, to go through America, you have to show proof of vaccination still or a negative COVID test. So we're like, damn, man, she's got to check our papers. We walked up to that gate, and she said, "Hello, gentlemen. I've been calling you for half an hour." We're so, "Oh, sorry. We weren't paying attention." And we go to offer her our documents. And she goes, No, I have something for you. You ready for this? We're talking complimentary, free of charge, 10.5-hour flight to Houston. Premium economy upgrade. Premium economy upgrade when you didn't expect it. Okay, I've got to describe this feeling. You have surrendered your soul to the travel gods and their sometimes twisted senses of humor. You never know if that 10.5 hours is sat next to a baby who's going to be screaming. You never know if that 10.5 hours will be next to a guy who doesn't fit in one seat. Or, me, my name is Scrawny. So when I get put next to a 6'5" giant, I know right out the gate that I'm not touching that armrest. I know that's not mine. So for us to get the premium, both of us, right? Not just one of us. Again, shared experience. I'm not one to brag and gloat. I'm not going to post that on my Instagram story or anything like that, because normally that's a private victory, right? That's a luxury that comes with this career and lifestyle, and I'm just going to enjoy the moment. Self-reflection. But I got to do it with Maui after we had our lounge Negronis. I'm just saying, sometimes travel days aren't that bad. All right? You hear people in this space bitch and complain about travel days, but sometimes you get lucky. Sometimes you are blessed by the gods. And on the way to Monterey, that's how we felt. We felt blessed by the gods. 10.5-hour flight. Slept for about 5 of them. Watched Everything Everywhere All at Once. Excellent film. Great piece of cinema. Had me reflecting, had me crying, had me laughing. It was just a real treat. I had heard a lot about it. I had talked to Maui, told him that I had it downloaded prior to getting on the plane, and I made sure to watch it on the way in. It's one of those films that gives you laughs, makes you shed a tear, and also gives you perspective, and made me feel extra grateful for not only what had just occurred with my comfortable seat, but also just the fact that I was flying around the world, getting recognized by strangers, doing what I love. So in the middle of Showdown in Monterey, I really did have this moment of reflection and appreciation for even the parts of this job that some people claim to hate. I fucking love it. Start to finish. I love this shit. Love it. So we get to Monterey. I'd been to Mexico once as a kid, like an all-inclusive resort or whatever. So to me, that doesn't count. You don't actually travel to a place unless you get to spend at least a couple days off there. And luckily, that's exactly what we had. So we fly into Houston, all goes well. That's where we meet up with Mohan, He was on a different flight across the Atlantic, but we still ended up going to Monterey on the same flight, all three of us. So that was cool. That's when we kind of like met up, squatted up. We fly into Monterey, and we had a choice before going to Copenhagen even. We had that 24 hours off. Did I want to go from Copenhagen back to Montreal, repack my bags, enjoy home for a night, and then fly to Mexico? Or do we fly to Mexico early, have 36 hours to ourselves? Okay, we got in on the evening. We had time just to go out for a quick bite to eat. Headed back to the hotel. All three of us crashed because we were tired. Travel days, they do kind of zoot you. And we had 36 hours, 24 hours completely to ourselves. And then the following day, we would have the first 12 hours because rehearsals only started at like 4 p.m. or something, right? So you had that morning as well. We wanted to pack as much adventure as possible into those 36 hours. That was the game plan for Launders, Maui Snake, and myself. And then things took a turn. My poor beloved casting partner, Launders, got a good old case of food poisoning. Food poisoning, dude. It happens infrequently in esports, but every once in a while you do get slammed by a bug. And poor bastard Mohan got slammed by one of the worst ones, right? Food poisoning's no joke. We woke up the first morning of our time off in Mexico, and shout out Blast for the Americas RMR, because we were put up in a swanky hotel in Monterey. And this was one of those events where the production of the event took place in the hotel. So once broadcast started, it's not like you've got that, 20-minute van ride to the studio. No. It's simple as walking downstairs, exiting the building, re-entering the backside of the building, and then bada boom, you are there. So it's about a 5-minute distance from your hotel room to your workplace. Very convenient for when you have an event like this, which is going to be a grind. Lots of games, very few breaks, not a huge broadcast team. Casters, our analysts, our desk hosts, our interviewers. It's just a wrapped up package deal. And we knew that we signed up for that. That's what we wanted to get involved with. We wanted to be part of the RMRs to tell the start of a journey to the major champions, etc. Because it all starts at the RMRs, really. Open and close qualifiers count for something, but the real journey, I think, truly begins at the RMR. So, day off, big plans, and it starts in the first 5 minutes with Mohan having to say, "Guys, I'm out." Fucking sucked. I felt guilty the whole day. Every time I would be enjoying myself, I'd just remember that poor Mohan's shitting his pants in his hotel room. Poor guy, man. But Maui and I made the most of it. We definitely made the most of it. Again, throwback to the point I made earlier. Maui is the guy to travel with. Maui pulled out a list of locations that we wanted to hit. We left the hotel at like 10:30 a.m. to get to the first taco place by 11 when it opened. That's right. We hit over the course of this day. All right. And this was an epic day of journey. We hit 5 different taco spots because we'd show up, we'd have 1 or 2 tacos, and then we'd head back out to trek, walk around the city for 40 minutes, find a coffee place, hit another taco shop. It was really like a traveling circus of taco consumption. And there was other guys working this event, obviously, Moses, Bach, Darth Mike. But they got in that day, right? We flew in the day earlier. So we had a good portion of the day. It was just Maui and I. Shout out Maui again. We made the most of it. Where did Maui take me? We hit a hole-in-the-wall cash-only taco place to kind of start the day, grab some big bottles of water because we knew we'd be walking around. We didn't want to really take taxis or Ubers. We wanted to kind of experience the city as best as we could. But Monterey had a lot of sprawl. It's actually a very big city. It took me off guard. And it's surrounded by mountains. So a lot of the time you get into like some good uphill bouts. It's very hilly, rolling city. So taco day began at 11. And then we took an Uber over towards the University of Monterey. We wanted to kind of just like take in the university vibe. We wanted to walk around the campus, look at some architecture, just kind of, it's, I think if you can hit up the neighborhood with universities in it, it's just, people are young, hip, fun. It's just a good vibe, in those sorts of spaces. But unfortunately, because it was kind of around Easter, the university was actually closed. It was completely gated off, and security was in abundance. So we kind of just walked around it, found a coffee place nearby. Excellent coffee. Probably one of the best coffees I've ever had ever. I didn't even know these techniques of filtering coffees existed. Something, I think it was called a Japanese siphon coffee, dude. Doesn't that sound intense? Japanese siphon filter. Like, I'm pretty sure that's a game that I played as a kid, Siphon Filter. Regardless, it was the least bitter coffee I have ever tasted. Maui ordered it. It took a single employee about 15 minutes of hard work and dedication to Maui's coffee alone, which is why it cost about 3 times as much as a regular cup of joe. I went the cortado route. I'm an oat milk cortado kind of guy. But I'm glad Maui went with the big experience, because it was almost like a moment of theater, watching this guy prepare Maui's coffee, and Maui, he explained the process to me. I almost want to say it was like drinking. I took a sip of it. It was like drinking water. That's really how smooth it was. Sometimes you hit that first sip of coffee and the bitterness just kind of dries up your mouth. It hits you in the back of the gullet. That kind of stuff. Like, there was nothing to that. It was as smooth as water. The taste from start to finish was a straight line of coffee-infused water. So good. There was no grit. There was no grain. It was just immaculate. So that was really good. That kind of set the tone. We were caffeinated at that point. We were on jet fuel. And this is where working the late night at Blast Showdown actually paid off, because we were already in that time zone, right? If we're working until 2 a.m, going at bed around 4 a.m, well, subtract, I think it's a 7-hour time difference. Look at that. You're living normal hours in Monterey. And so we were super energized. We hit up a couple more taco places, and then in the later afternoon, that's when the other trio of casters started to get out of the hotel. They dropped off their bags, had a shower, whatever, and they wanted to meet up. And boy, oh boy, did our day devolve into degeneracy. But in like a fun way, okay? Maybe even evolved. You'll be the judge of this. So we meet up with the boys. We hit up a different neighborhood. It's like 3 p.m. now. They needed something to eat, so we got some food. Great food in Monterey, by the way. It's not often that I get to eat Mexican food. I don't feel like that's something that's really available in Montreal. It's definitely not a food style of cooking that has been translated to Europe particularly well. But obviously Maui comes from California, he doesn't come from California. He's spent time in California. And anybody who has spent time in the southern United States knows all about Mexican cuisine. Well, baby, oh baby, barbacoa, chicharron. They got some good cooking down there. Some damn good cooking, if I'm being honest. And so we were eating and drinking very well. We're having fun. We're drinking beers. We're drinking margaritas. Couple tequila shots here and there. And we basically just started bar hopping with Moses, Bach, and Darf. Again, the whole time, poor Launders. Poor unfortunate Launders. But we made the most of it in his honor. We kind of caught up with Bach, who we haven't seen in a long time, because obviously he has not been in CS broadcasts as frequently as he was 5-6 years ago when I got into this space. So it was nice catching up with Bach. It's always cool to get to spend time with somebody who you used to spend more time with, but now, it's a different landscape in CS. It was kind of nice to have him back. Not kind of nice. It was nice. Always cool to hang out with those guys. Moses, gotta love a little Moses. But Moses can drink. I'll tell you that much. All right. In a respectful, mature, gentlemanly way, Moses can hit the tequila 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, maybe 10 times. We had fun. We had a good time. And as the night went on, Bach and Moses had to head home. They're fathers. Darth, Maui, and I, we kept it going. We hit up another taco spot at like midnight as it was closing. And this last taco spot, this was like a real... It's the kind of late night drunk spot that the Monterey locals go to. Well, we rolled in. 3 goofballs. 20 minutes, prior to closing. And we had some communication issues, let's say. We had some translation problems. I was trying to order 5 tacos for each of us. Cinco, 15 taco, por favor. 15 en todos por 3 personas. I thought that was clear, but we ended up ordering 30 tacos. 30 tacos and the hottest hot sauce I have had in Monterey to this day prior to midnight. We're trying to eat all these tacos because we're trying to be respectful. We don't want to waste food in front of people. But man, we're like down in water bottles. We're all, Darth, man. Darth's a pretty white guy. So am I. We're red in the face, man. We were red in the face, chomping down these tacos. And ultimately, we couldn't eat them all. We had to tap out. They were delicious, although in far more abundance than we had expected. But all in all, that was a really fun day. One of the best days off that I have had in esports, I want to say ever. Kind of like a top 5 day off was going into Monterey a day early. And a lot of that fun was due to Maui Snake and his scoping of the city and his preparation. So, really fun day. But because we're responsible gentlemen, a day of debauchery, drinking and eating, getting all fat and sassy. The next 12 hours were our last bit of free time before the reality of broadcast sank in. So what did we do? We decided that the next morning we were going to leave at 10 a.m. to go hike a fucking mountain. Because if you're going to get drunk, fat, and sassy, then you got to work it off the day after. So in our slightly hungover but still well-rested states, we had decided, let's hit it. Let's hit this hike, baby. This is where Darth Mike almost died. We've hit that point of the story. So Moses, Bach, they tapped out, right? They said, fuck it, man. We're just going to relax the hotel. Launders, still ill. Understandable absence. Maui, myself, and Darth hop in an Uber. Bada-boom. Start flying up to this mountain, right? Now, when I say Monterey, Google Monterey real quick. Okay? Google Monterey, Mexico. You will see the mountainous region of which I speak. Massive mountains. And so we get in this Uber. Uber's supposed to take us to the hike spot. Well, little did we realize that at the bottom of the national park, which is on a mountain side, you have to pay an entry fee to get in, obviously. Well, not obvious. We thought it would just maybe be a free open space, but we had to pay an entry fee, and we were in an Uber. So our poor Uber driver is like, what? And he was willing to buy a ticket for all 4 of us to drive us up to the top of the road to drop us off higher up the mountain. But, I had this realization. We're like, man, then poor buddy's going to have to drive down. He's spending his own money to get us in. So we, through broken communication, just told him, drop us off here at the entry gate. We'll walk up. No problem, man. It can't be that far. Can't be that bad. Whew. So we said, thank you, sir. He departed. Well, it turns out that the hike up to the start of the trail is the hardest part of the hike. Man, it wasn't horrendous, okay? It was not that bad. I'm of 2 minds right now. I want it to seem dramatic so that poor Mike doesn't get grilled, but I also don't want to over-exaggerate my own accomplishment in having made it the whole entire way, because it was somewhere in the middle. If I had to say the difficulty of the hike for me personally, It was like a 6.5. There was a lot of stairs. It was hot out, but there was also lots of shade. We were limited on water. It was an all right hike. But poor Darf, man. We almost killed him. It took us about an hour to hike up this mountainside with breaks here and there before Mikey Boy had to tap. And I respect Darf for this, okay? He hit his max. We saw him pushing himself. We saw him getting slower. Maui and I were really goal-oriented in terms of hitting certain lookouts, certain spots on the mountain that we wanted to get to. And we were, again, time-limited, right? Because we had rehearsal later that day. So we had to be back at the hotel and preferably showered by 4 p.m. Time-limited exercise. About an hour up that mountain, we had to cut him loose. You know, they say no man left behind, but we left him behind. Respect for Darf for pushing himself, but also for knowing his limits. He tapped out, walked back down on his own, and actually ended up having like a fun experience. I don't even know what to call it, man. He saw some crazy looking animal. He was chilling on the picnic benches, catching his breath before descending on his own. And some crazy 4-legged creature came underneath his picnic table. He got pictures of it. I want to describe it. It was like half capybara, half monkey. I don't know what the hell it was, man, but I didn't see any of those. And at first I thought maybe Darf was like hallucinating from heat exhaustion or some shit. But then he got a photo of it. He really did see some monkey creature. So I'm a little jealous, you know? Him going on his own journey ended up paying off in a very unique way. So that's cool. Maui and I continued on our trek. What Mike doesn't know is that not even 2 minutes further up the mountain where he quit was one of the best lookouts of the entire hike. It was like a bridge that attached to a rock that was overhanging a mountain face where you could see the entire city of Monterey and all of the mountain ranges that surrounded it. Beautiful image. Mike never got to see that. We didn't tell him how close he was to missing out on it, but if he listens to Scrawndawgin, I'm sorry, Darf. You were almost there. So close. Maui and I spent another hour and a half or so trekking out what we could, checking out some of the hills. And once we got up there, honestly, it became very easy. It was more of a walk than it was a hike. It was much less vertical elevation and much more just like, cleared paths. You weren't walking through the forest floor. You basically just had a cleared path through the trees. So it was still beautiful. It was really nice. It was a good day to do it. It was it was the perfect day, actually, because the day prior was like 10 degrees hotter Celsius, and the days after were rainy. So had we not gone hiking that day, we wouldn't have gotten that awesome experience. It was really fun, and it made up for the day before, which was just a lot of indulgence. So yeah, very fun. I think it's really fun to do activities, like physical activities with people. You get to see their character, and it's a good like bonding. You know, you can get drunk with your friends, sure, that's fun and all, but pushing yourself physically with those people is also a very enjoyable time for me personally. It's why I like climbing with Mo. It's why I liked hiking with Maui. Those are two of my favorite memories from the 2 weeks that I was gone in the last month. But then broadcast started, man, and I want to talk about it. Because we knew that once broadcast started, we were locked in. Because even though we were hired as 3 people to do duos and take shifts, Maui, Mohan, and myself decided that we were going to do the whole entire event as a tri-cast because we don't get this chance often. Maui wanted to cast with me and Mo. We wanted to cast with him, and I love the dynamic we have because like Mohan and Maui they have such great minds for the game. They were having some really good conversations about Counter-Strike that, sometimes with Mohan talking about technical elements of CS, like I can't really keep up in that conversation. I feel like I'm learning as much as the viewer maybe. But Maui and Mohan could have some back and forth. I mean, they even got in some nice little, broadcast debate, a little argumentative at times, which is good. You want a back and forth. It's hard for me to disagree with Mohan because his opinions are usually more informed than mine are. And it was fun to have Mo with me because, we could kind of bully Maui Snake sometimes. And Maui's a fun guy to push his buttons. Basically my favorite elements of our TriCast was just like sometimes Mohan and Maui would jump on me for saying something stupid. And then sometimes me and Mo would jump on Maui if he if you fumbled your words or stuttered the start of your sentence. Well, we were just like on each other. It was a real like chaotic evil, but wrapped up in a fun, friendly package. And I think that those TriCasts are going to go down in my memory as a really special event. Talk about the Showdown and the long hours, etc. Well, if Showdown was a TriCast like that, man, I could do the whole day. Because just doing something different like that adds an element of uniqueness that I really appreciate. I've cast 1,000 maps with Mohan, but I've only cast a couple dozen with Maui and Mo. And so those are really special to me after the RMRs. And I know that we did a region that had less viewership, but we did our region. I think that being in tier 1 of CS is a blessing, but it also unfortunately takes us away from the region that we come from. So I don't get to cast guys like Nouns very often. I don't get to see Darty Montana and the boys of NA. So it's cool to just get an event, singular at least, to go back and kind of talk all things Americas. And I like the results as well, right? We've got 5 teams going to the Paris Major representing the Americas region. 3 Brazilian, Infuria, Pain, and Fluxo. Very cool that Fluxo got in. VSM, unbanned, and just nabs one of these last opportunities to kind of etch his name in CSGO history. Liquid and Complexity also making it through. Complexity in convincing fashion. Liquid lost a map to Nouns. That looked good for them. I felt a little bad for the Nouns boys. I think that of the teams that didn't make it, them and MIBR were the best 2. And it would have been really cool for guys like CJ DeKing, Marky, Cynic, B-Wills, Carson. Those people I think deserve is not the right word, but they busted their asses off and made it as close as they could have without succeeding in getting to Paris. And that's obviously a result of our region losing a spot to the European RMRs, right? Europe got a last chance qualifier because Americas lost their 6th spot. If it wasn't for the Americas region losing their 6th major representative, FaZe Clan and Cloud9 would have both missed Paris. If it was not for the sacrifices of the Americas, FaZe wouldn't be there. And that's why I think that the RMR format was really weird this time around. And the RMRs had some real pains, man. I saw it coming. When Blast announced that they were doing their RMRs in different regions, I knew that would come with some growing pains. So, in terms of RMR cycles, man, Blasts were not that smooth. If we directly compare them to the last 2, it would be PGLs in Bucharest and ESLs in multiple regions, or different cities anyways. And I was a part of both, right? PGL's RMRs were all done in Bucharest, one after another with the same broadcast team on each region. That was the longest set of RMRs. I almost want to say that PGL's RMRs were the best. Yeah, they were the best of the 3 sets that we're going to talk about here. Just because it was standardized competition for each region. Asia got flown in, Americas got flown in, the both, European RMR, it all happened in Bucharest. So everybody that played the RMRs played at the same location, in the same environment, etc. The criticism there is that the Americas and Asian region should be able to play in their own region, time zones, etc. Right? That's the argument, and that's the same criticism that occurred when ESL did their RMRs leading up to Rio. Americas had to play in Stockholm, and people were upset about that. That was the real big talking point leading up to Blast's major in terms of the RMRs, was that it should be regional. So I understand why Blast decided to emphasize regional TOs. It's why one was done in Mongolia and ours was done in Monterey, Mexico, because at least they were performed in the right regions. But the difference is PGL got to use their studio in Bucharest for all of them. So there weren't tech delays, there weren't problems, there weren't start delays. It was all smooth, right? Because it's standardized. They did it in their own backyard. If you look at the Blast European RMRs that were done in Copenhagen, that's what all of the RMRs could have done if Blast hadn't emphasized regional events. It would have been the safest thing to do. It would have been the most comfortable way to do it. But they were afraid of the backlash that ESL got for Rio when they did theirs all in Europe. And I understand why that happened, but, and the guys that worked on Liga Ace in Monterey were really great. They were really friendly. They were accommodating. But they were in over their heads, man. It felt like the biggest event they had ever organized. And for an RMR, you'd hope that wouldn't be the case. Hell, I don't even know what happened in Mongolia, but I know that everybody in Monterey just kept saying, at least we're not in Mongolia. So, Blast took a risk. And I'd say the blame kind of lies somewhere in the middle, right? Blast hired these companies to pull off their events. Did they properly vet the capabilities of these TOs? Who knows? We don't know the intricacies of what was organized by Blast, what was organized by the local TO. We just know that the events were not run smoothly, that Americas and Asia had day one games pushed to the second day, had extended schedules for that reason, had competitive integrity issues with headsets not working because of delayed arrivals, etc. They were using HyperX headsets, man, for coaches and players in Americas. I'm pretty sure that Ace Zone is the sponsor of these events. The noise canceling headsets that they use on stage, that's what they were using in Europe, and that should have been standardized across all regions. But again, for logistic problems to occur, that's the reality of doing these events in different regions. So there's a trade-off, right? And Blast isn't ESL. ESL has studios in Stockholm, has studios in Cologne, has studios in Katowice. They were able to pull off those events, but Blast only have their studios in Copenhagen. And Blast could have done it PGL's way, but they tried it this way, and I think that's why we got the headache that we did. So there's blame to go to both, right? The local TOs bit off more than they could chew. Blast gave that responsibility to local TOs. The blame lies somewhere in the middle. I think the big takeaway, of course, is that we have our teams for the major. At the end of the day, that's all that really matters for RMRs. We have our teams for the Paris major. And I kind of want to talk about CS for a second. Wow, imagine that. Because we are looking at a list of teams from which the next and final CSGO major champions will be. They're on this list. Had you looked at the teams showing up for IEM Rio, you would not have known that Outsiders was going to lift that trophy. And I think that magical things can happen at majors. The format plays into it. Swiss into best of threes, playoffs, etc. And I feel like when the Swiss group stages starts going a little wonky, that's when really weird results can occur. So I listed off the teams that are representing Americas already. Great to see Furia kind of taking that step forward, being able to beat Pain to qualify as legends. Pain still look like they're at the top of this region. Liquid a little shaky, but we know their potential. Complexity got through very smoothly. That was a great uptick, and we'll see what Fluxo can do, right? These are players who are at least going to get a shot. That's how I see Fluxo. They could have been interchangeable with MIBR or Nouns. My expectations would still be quite low in comparison to the other four, but they're the guys that get to swing. We'll see what's up. EU RMR B. 9 qualify as legends. That's fucking dope. If you guys watch my Fantasyland series on YouTube, then you know that at the Blast Showdown, I was kind of hyping 9 up. Like, this is a team that are playing real CS, and Hades looks great. The fact they qualified as legends, wow. Could not have seen that coming. Awesome. Heroic looked great. Vitality get there. Vitality needed to be in Paris, in my opinion. So for them to pull that off as Legend Stage attendees as well, excellent. That's just good for the whole event. We get, a couple teams every major cycle that just kind of stick their head above the rest and get a chance at leaving a mark in the history books, right? I think that if we go back 2 majors, that was Bad News Eagles. Well, B&E have kept themselves together as a core. They've only changed out their coaching staff. It's still the same 5 players, and they're here for 3 majors in a row. That is awesome. I think that is really awesome. In this case for RMRB, dude, I look at Monty. Sumdai Young's new team with Boros, Motor 2K, Waro 2K. That's really sick that we get another one of these highly unexpected attendees, right? That did cost us Big. That did cost us Cloud9. That did cost us Astralis. It cost us Eternal Fire, Spirit. That's 5 teams you'd anticipate getting out instead, but we've got Monty, baby. And I think that's a team that really merits us talking about this current name tag that's being applied to Blast, which is the last CSGO major, right? Like, I want to talk about this as kind of a place to end this episode, because I think in some context that is being overblown. And in other contexts, it's really important to recognize. So for me personally, when I look at a team like Monty, I think it's really important to emphasize last CSGO major, boom, Monty are going to be remembered, right? Like, they get their stickers, they get to attend it. And it's the reason I think it's important for them is because that's a team that may never come back to another major. That's a team where CS2 comes out between events and the next thing you know, they're not hitting like they used to. It might not ever happen again. It's a team that doesn't have, as much of an organization behind it. When you tell me that like Big, for example, aren't making the major, I think this is my counterpoint. That's not a team that I think it really matters to put that selling point right next to, right? Big have attended how many majors already? And I have no doubt in my mind that Big will make it to a major in the future. They're a partner team. We're still going to see Big. Big still exist in the circuit of Counter-Strike, regardless of whether or not they attend the last CSGO major. And so that's why it's like, sometimes it's not that big a deal, because there will be more majors. It will be CS2. We don't know who will still be good. And obviously, every player definitely wants to be a part of the last CSGO major. I get that. I get that it's important to them. I just don't know. I really feel like with every interview, with every content piece, with every news article, the last CSGO mate. It'll be important to emphasize that point when a team wins this trophy. If Nico doesn't get a CSGO major, it's important to state that fact, that he had his chance at the last major but didn't get it, etc. Teams like Big will be fine. Cloud9 should be fine. It's important to state when the moment is at its peak, when that last CSGO trophy gets lifted at a major. Wow. Sell me on that subtitle, the last CSGO major. When Big miss their chance, man, it's not that big a deal. I think we need to be meticulous with when we throw out that quote. Don't overemphasize it just for the sake of drama. Choose your moments correctly. It's kind of my mentality going into Paris, because in 2.5 weeks, we're in Paris, man. In 2.5 weeks, That event begins. And there's only a couple of events after, in Dallas and in the Blast Spring Finals in Washington. And then apparently it's CS2. You know, it's coming. It's coming. Summer of 2023. So I don't want it to be too overblown. Counter-Strike's not going anywhere. CSGO will have its final chapter soon written. That is important. But it doesn't need to always be said. That's kind of my takeaway. In the Asia event, we got Greyhound Mongols. Dope. You know, IHC are now the Mongols. The Mongols stickers are going to be awesome. That's a piece of CS history, you know, that like predates IHC. I'm glad it's still that core, the Mongolian guys, but not by IHC. I don't know. It's like IHC was just it's an organization or company or brand or whatever that I didn't really give two damns about. But the fact that it's now the Mongols, that's OG shit, baby. That's exactly what I want for the last major. Greyhound as well, good for them, still being the number one in that region, and this time finishing first. FaZe eliminate Cloud9 in the last chance qualifier. Two teams that wouldn't even get that chance if it wasn't for the Americas region having the craziest format of all the RMRs. The Americas RMR format was cutthroat. If you guys didn't watch it, you could lose one. In Swiss, normally it's 3 losses. At the Americas RMR, it's 2 losses. 1 best of 1, 1 best of 3, you're out. And that also then gave an additional chance to these European teams that otherwise wouldn't have even had that shot. So anything FaZe accomplished in Paris, that was at the price of an Americas representative. I have high hopes that the Americas region does better here in Paris, with Pain looking as good as they do, with Furia having good form right now and like a revamped staying alive type vibe. If Liquid can get their shit together and if Complexity can stay consistent, those are 4 teams that could be looking at Legends. One of them already locked in Furia. So fingers crossed for us. Fingers crossed, boys. Paris up next. It's kind of a surreal feeling, I think. Anytime I'm at home on a lead up to a big event, I'm of two minds, like I want to prepare myself appropriately and really be my best version of a commentator when I get there. But I also just kind of want to take a step back away from esports and just be quiet. There's going to be a lot of people. There's going to be a lot of pressure. There's going to be a lot of fans. There's going to be a lot of awesome moments that are all going to go down in Paris. And I can't wait to be a part of that. But at the same time, pressure is a real thing. Luckily, I love it. You know what I'm saying? The pressure to perform is a hell of a drug. Counter-Strike is a hell of a drug. It's always been one of my mottos in this space. And it's going to be a fucking huge hit when we get to Paris, I'll tell you that much. So, I'll be quiet for a couple of weeks, and the next Scrawndawgin will be released while I'm in Paris. I'm going to do a guest episode. The next episode will be with a guest. I didn't make use of my traveling recording setup for podcast, just for YouTube, because the Monterey event ended up being way more broadcast heavy than expected. I had a plan in Monterey, but that kind of got, thrown to the sideline. I'm going to grab a coffee and a croissant with a guest somewhere in Paris, sit down with my laptop and record a remote episode and talk the shit. That's the game plan. Until Paris comes up, catch me under the radar. I appreciate you guys listening for Scrawndawgin every single time. I really do. If you guys have anything you want me to talk about or an idea, etc., put it down in the comments. I'm going to put this episode on YouTube as well. I stopped posting on YouTube, but I've been more active there, and I think it's a great place to have conversation around Scrawndawgin. So if there's any topics you guys want me to hit on, I've started to think about including those. Do so on YouTube. If you listen to Spotify, well, go to YouTube. It's literally that simple. All right, guys. Much love. Peace and love. Don't stress. do something new, believe in yourself, and catch y'all soon, right? If you're going to see... hold on. Wait. If you're coming to Paris for the major, bring your fucking best energy. And if you see me, make sure to say hello. Aight. Peace.